Thank you, Chairpersons Ayaz and Dr. Mohanty, and thank you all of you who've managed to find their way to this hall. I've been worried. Originally when we planned the meeting, all the meeting halls were going to be on this floor. This is how we were going to have 1, 2, 3 halls. Then, fortunately, to some of our educational partners, we got better fund and we could move up to the. But they didn't have the third hall; they had already given it away. Otherwise, all the 3 halls. So, again, thank you for all of you, and I see good number of people here. What is extremely difficult to speak about in nutrition is to do that when you still not had lunch. So I'll try and justify the topic and bring about certain important aspects. You keep hearing about this all the time, right? Protein cow and protein. Why? Why is protein so important? What? Why should be replaced? And there are different aspects of protein and fiber. And let's also then quickly dwell into the different products available in the market, how it helps us choose. So protein intake in India essential for various bodily functions, often lacking and overlooked, especially in the Indian diet. And it's not the vegetarian diet. How many here are non-vegetarian? I can see almost 80% of the hall is non-vegetarian. What is non-vegetarian? So, we are actually poor non-vegetarians. You will eat at all, you will have 2 bites. Just in a conference like this, sometimes it's crazy, but otherwise you will eat 2 bites of chicken or something. That's our protein. There are times which is difficult. I've traveled to different places in the world, and when they serve you, and places have especially European influence, French and others, the kind of meat that comes onto your table, it's difficult to finish it, and you wonder, but that's the normal portion of that they. Even if I eat meat, I just can't eat meat. I will still want to have it. But the curry I will put on the rice and or have a chapati ke saath, the chicken curry. That's the kind of thing. So we still need our carbs. That protein never really suffices. And that's where we are extremely deficient. So 73% of Indians are protein deficient. Over 90% are unaware of daily protein requirement. 85% believe protein consumption leads to weight gain. I'm going to eat more chicken. I'm going to fish, I'm going to eat more paneer, I'm going to gain weight. So that's the kind of myth which is there. And health issues which are associated with low protein are weakness, muscle atrophy, brittle hair, and nails. How often have we really considered that when patients tell us about the brittle nails and we just say iron deficiency hoga, calcium deficiency hoga? We've never really dwelt into the protein aspect of that. So let's think again how much ill-informed have we all been, and hence not really we look at it as non-specific complaints from the patients. And all of us are very smart. When somebody will tell us about this, okay, hai, but sugars ke liye dhyan dena. This is what we do, and we go back to talking about that. So that's important for us to evolve. Sorry. Adequate protein intake recommendation for adults. How much is that? It's close to 0.8, 0.85 grams per adult. So if somebody is 65, this also at all the examples, they will tell you 65 kg and 70. Indians also average are not 65, 70 anymore. So, that example should also change. The average Indian weight has also gone up now. But this is where it tells you. So 54 grams of protein. It's difficult by calculating in your meal how much protein is there. And most of us would struggle to go beyond 30 grams of protein. It's not really easy. And you ask, especially a vegetarian individual, and they would say, I'm having dal, I'm having pulses. Sorry, that's not giving us enough at all. So that's the problem, that's the daily recommendation. And life course changes in muscle mass and muscle strength. So this is important in terms of how our protein buildup is. So obviously, in our early life, we are deficient as we grow up and get into adult life, which is where you get your muscle mass and muscle strength. A 25-year-old is the one which has the best possible muscle strength. Right? Some of us here have gone beyond, and we are already in our decline. Post 50, you're going to lose muscle, which is where people celebrate their 50th birthday. You should start giving them the protein shakes or the protein supplements available, because that's what is needed more than the malt whiskeys which get distributed. So I don't mind the latter also, but But that's let's understand the muscle mass, how it happens. So factors which also affect the muscle mass are lifestyle habits, which is impaired nutrition, reduced physical activity, too much of alcohol, and smoking. And there's genes which are also responsible for this aspect, such as the IGF-1 and the vitamin D receptors, which are actually responsible for the muscle loss. So sarcopenia and muscle loss is extremely important, and all of us should be assessing it, whether it's hand muscle grip, right, or different aspects where you can more refine body composition analysis, DEXA, whatever means available. Factors which affect the muscle health and role of nutrients, functions of muscle protein. Again, if you can reiterate, it's reincorporation of amino acids into the protein, energy production through oxidation, gluconeogenesis, synthesis of immune components. Proteins are actually extremely important for your immunity and immune protection. Go low on protein, you don't have your immune protection at all. Factors which influence the muscle development is muscle contractions during exercise, and hence which is where muscle building, muscle resistance, and exercise becomes important, and the amino acid intake diet, which is essential for your muscle repair and growth, and highlights the significance of sufficient in our diet. Lifestyle factors in muscle loss, again, to repeat, it's about excess of alcohol, smoking, inactivity, reduced energy intake, no exercise, and vitamin D deficiency also adding to the problem. Quick call on proteins, calcium, and vitamin D on the musculoskeletal health. Post age 35, your joints do undergo degenerative changes. So how are each of these components important? So proteins and amino acids play a crucial role in the muscle growth, its physiology and metabolism. Protein constitutes approximately 50% of your bone volume and around 1/3 of its mass. So it's not just your skeletal muscle, it's also your bone health where proteins are so much important. Calcium, of course, is the dominant mineral within the bone matrix, and vitamin D is involved in differentiation, proliferation, growth of muscle cells. So protein, calcium, and vitamin D all are going to be important for both your muscular and your skeletal health. So let's keep that in mind. Gut wellness and its role in nutrient absorption. Importance of gut health is also important. Maintaining a healthy gut can significantly reduce the occurrence and severity of functional gastrointestinal disorders. Persistent digestive issues such as so-called acidity, gas, bloating, and constipation can also alter the gut motility and microbiota balance. And it's going to be important, and I'm going to show about how different products can actually influence your gut microbiota. So the importance of a healthy gut is effective digestion and absorption, improve the gut motility, stable intestinal microbiota, effective immune status, and absence of illness. Role of gut microbiota, extremely important in the metabolism. We keep hearing about the gut microbiota and enough conversations and talks and its impact even in metabolic health. It's also the host protection and immune system development. Again, that's where the gut microbiota is important. And the gut muscle axis. The right kind of gut microbiota will improve the protein digestive gut and the short chain fatty acid production, and it will reduce the translocation of inflammatory molecule. Now, what is the general perception of pre and probiotics? What are probiotics? Probiotics, we all hear. Yes, your pro is actually the gut microbiota. You're supplementing the healthy bacteria. That is your probiotic. And the prebiotic is something which helps the probiotic actually work and proliferate and be there. So let me clarify a bit on this, because I myself, all of us have used these terms so loosely, pre-probiotics, things like that. So what really are prebiotics? Well, they're defined as non-digestive oligosaccharides. They go transformed by the beneficial colonic microorganisms, which is the probiotic. Your so-called gut bacteria is the probiotic. And these are non-digestible oligosaccharides that are required for the probiotics to actually function. The prebiotics will inhibit pathogens, reduce allergy risk, enhance immune protection, modulation of probiotics, production of metabolites, and so on. And the effect of probiotics is going to be, probiotics are actually live microorganisms, what we loosely refer to as your gut bacteria, the healthy bacteria. That's something it's so difficult to explain to your patient. We want your, we are trying to give you bacteria in your stomach. So because that's how. So people, it takes a while to understand that gut bacteria or microbiota is so important for your digestion, and which is where probiotics are helpful for causing immunomodulation and the cascade that here normalize the gut microbiota and have beneficial metabolic effects. So pre and probiotics have a huge role in protein absorption and cell integrity. They regulate the intestinal microbiome. They induce the host digestive protease and peptidase activity, the small peptides. They reduce the harmful fermentation. Now, let me quickly highlight on some of these different unique products, which is the unique IS2, which is a probiotic, Bacillus coagulans. Bacillus coagulans unique IS2 and health outcomes has achieves the adult gut health, and when you use this, reduces or alleviates abdominal pain, normalizes bowel movement, and mitigates overall symptoms in it. Manages even acute diarrhea and small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. How many of us, till a few years back, if we got a call from the patient, diarrhea hai, and what would we say? Take an O2 or take an Imodium. This is what we were doing. Today, probably called into telling them that take a pre-probiotic, take an Enterogermina, whatever. You'll have multiple different products. We take that. We're not rushing into just using antibiotics, which funnily enough are destroying that helpful gut microbiota, and we were contributing to it. It was giving the relief, but it was not really doing the job that it should have. This Bacillus coagulans also improves the muscle strength. So it augments muscle strength and optimizes the protein absorption, and also concentrates on improving the muscle power and plasma amino acids. There is data on research and safety for these aspects. And quickly on the properties of Bacillus coagulans: vitamin synthesis, good probiotic potential, resilient nature, digestive enzyme, and antimicrobial properties. There is some clinical evidence and studies have shown that as compared to placebo, in the interventional group, when you've given the protein supplement or protein powder, which has 2 billion units of the Bacillus coagulans, it has done much better in terms of increasing the availability of protein, improving the gut health, and overall improving the exercise performance as well. Finally, the dietary fiber and health benefits, again a term that we use very loosely. There are two aspects in the fiber: insoluble and soluble dietary fiber, and which is where I would want to end the aspects. What is insoluble dietary fiber? Not fermentable or poorly fermentable, non-viscous. Examples are actually your whole grain products, cellular resistant starch, and protein, lignin brands, etc. These are your insoluble dietary fiber. And then you have the soluble ones, which is fermentable, again, which you have viscous and non-viscous, and you have examples listed here. When you're trying to give a wholesome fiber, you actually want to have a composition of both insoluble and soluble. So dietary fiber would consist of remnants of edible portions of plant cells, polysaccharides. These fibers are not digested by the human digestive enzymes, but are fermented in the colon. And which is where even in other exams, whether it's grain, legumes, salad, when your patients start complaining of poor gut health, constipation, you tell them to have fiber because it's so essential to form the stool. Only your other food is not going to form the stool. The person is going to be constipated. So you need this roughage, you need this fiber to help that aspect as well. And then you have the highlights on fructooligosaccharides, which is a unique prebiotic. And there are again properties of this prebiotic listed here: water soluble, highly hygroscopic, and resistance to hydrolysis by the human digestive, which is what a prebiotic should be. And the mode of action of this FOS is it reaches intact in colon, undergoes fermentation by the colonic flora, and promotes growth of the healthy microbiota that we want. The health benefits of this product FOS: prebiotic, relief from constipation, facilitating mineral absorption, and modulation of immunity. Let me conclude by showing highlights on this aspect of protein metabolism and our choice of taking a product or a protein supplement which has probably this unique probiotic which I mentioned, and also having sufficient fiber which helps in ensuring that you're getting the right prebiotic. So muscle loss begins as early as the age of 30 and accelerates significantly due to lifestyle factors. The musculoskeletal integrity is maintained by an interplay between protein, calcium, and vitamin D, not just one aspect. Maintaining a healthy gut microbiota and effectively managing gut health issues like listed IBS, constipation, etc., is where the maintaining this gut microbial health is going to be important in multiple health aspects. High protein supplementation, including prebiotics and probiotics along with physical activity, will go a long way. Pre and probiotics, including Bacillus coagulans, unique IS2, and the FOS, which is fructooligosaccharides, have been shown to improve nutrient absorption. When you choose your protein supplement, probably having something which has these aspects would be the right choice to offer to your patients. But more importantly, the conversation is about understanding the need for protein, fiber, and the different aspects for towards gut health. So with that, let me thank again all of you for being here in this room and itself. Thank you.